Hey, everybody, it's Mike from The Mike Wagner Show, powered by SoundCloud Studios, brought to you by our official sponsor, The Mike Wagner Show, international warring author Mia Molson's The Missing, available on Amazon and paperback and ebook. Coming soon, Missing 2, Double the Suspense, Double the Fun. Check it out on Amazon. Also brought to you by a sweet psalmist by Serena Wagner, based on the life of David, including 30 exquisite paintings and King David's Psalms. Check out the Sweet Psalmist today, Amazon.com. Keyword Sweet Psalmist Serena Wagner. Also follow the Mike Wagner Show on Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, Twitter, TikTok, 50 podcast platforms, over 110 countries. Follow us today. We're here with amazing writer, registered nurse, certified teacher, former school director, and founder of the Blue Round Book Group of outside Orlando. She's a grandmother of a child diagnosed with Dravet syndrome, a catastrophic seizure disorder. Also has a new book, which is a story that follows a child who, after a near fatal seizure, steps through an indigo in her mind and catapults into a world of magic, wonder, and danger, unlocking the powers of her disability to survive and save others. We'll talk more about the book. It's called Delilah versus the Ghastly Grim. Live, ladies and gentlemen, Plus Studios, somewhere outside Orlando. Multi-talented writer, registered nurse, certified teacher, former school director, and founder of the Blue Round Book Group with the book Delilah versus the Ghastly Grim. Ladies and gentlemen, multi-talented TL McCoy. TL, good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Thanks for joining us today.
Thank you for having me on your show. I really appreciate it.
Well, it's great to have you on board, Tammy, as well. So you're a writer, registered nurse, certified teacher, former school director, and founder of the Blue Round Book Group. You're grandmother of a child diagnosed with Dravet syndrome, a catastrophic seizure disorder. You have a new book, which is a story that follows a child who, after a near-fatal seizure, steps to a indigo door in her mind and catapults into a world of magic, wonder, and danger, where she must unlock the powers of her disability and save others as well. And the book is called Delilah versus the Ghastly Grim. And before getting all that, TL, tell us how you first got started.
Sure, absolutely. So this is the book, Delilah versus the Ghastly Grim. It's a middle grade novel, and it's, as you said, about a child who has a life-threatening seizure disorder, and one particular seizure kind of opens an indigo door in her mind and catapults her to a new world. I basically wrote the book because I have a grandchild who was diagnosed with Dravet syndrome. That is a rare and sometimes catastrophic seizure disorder. Most people have never even heard of it. It's caused by a genetic mutation in the SCN1A gene. And some of these kids, it kind of works like a spectrum where some of these kids are high functioning, but some of them require lifelong care. Delilah is my grandchild, and she does receive multiple therapies a week, including physical therapy and speech therapy. And then every other week or twice a month, she receives occupational therapy. She is only 4 years old, but the Delilah in the book is a little bit older. We had her be 12 because we wanted it to be a little bit more adventurous in the storyline. So basically what happened was I had started writing a book for about a psych nurse. It was an adult suspense thriller. And I was taking a class to kind of improve my writing when I was doing some research, and I came across a study that said there weren't very many books out there for kids with disabilities. The figure I think I came across, not a lot of inclusive books out there at all. The figure I came across was like 3.4%. And
3.4,
so, you know,
really? Oh my gosh.
yeah, it was from the Children's Cooperative Center. I can't remember it offhand. And I didn't do a deep dive since that. And, you know, I started writing this, you know, over a year ago. So, you know, the new figures may be in, but that was the last figure that I came across. And when I saw that, you know, it kind of sat with me and was kind of eating away at me. So I put my adult thriller to the side and I started writing a children's book because I figured right now that was more important, you know, to kind of bridge the gap. There's a problem out there. You know, there's not enough inclusive books out there. There aren't enough books that are representative in general. But so when I started thinking about my grandchild getting older and not having a lot of characters that she could connect with, that would empower her based on where she is in life, I felt like I needed to take some action.
Mm-hmm. And I think you've done a really good job on that. And besides, you know, having your granddaughter with Dravet syndrome and setting aside your adult thriller and getting to the book, what was that one other exact precise moment that simply influenced you into what you're doing for the rest of your career?
For writing, I would say I've been writing for a lot of years, more it was more cathartic than anything else. You know, some people experience harder lives than others, and sometimes writing is a way to get that out. I think what happened was, I think really when I started looking at it as maybe something that I wanted to share with others was caused by my daughter. She had gone off to college, and I want to say she came home and she came across some of my writing in the garage or something like that. And she read it. And my stories were not stories that I shared with my kids. I wanted them separate from the way I grew up. So I gave them a kind of different life than I experienced as a child. So it kind of upset her. And she had said to me, you know, you should write this and try and get some of this published, you know, because there are a lot of people who have experienced hardships in life that might be able to connect with these kind of stories. And so that kind of stuck with me. And then I started having the idea of maybe I would do something like publish my work. I think it is hard to write and get published because you are vulnerable to criticisms. So when you write things that are very personal, sometimes that can be very difficult to face those criticisms, and that comes along with the job. So
Mm-hmm.
you have to be prepared for that.
Or sometimes it gets taken out of context as well too, and you get like, so many criticisms. It's like, one person will say this, one person will say that, and majority get taken out of context. Next thing you know, it's not a whole universal review of the book. It's like several others, and people like, what do we make of it?
And then you have people who are like, were you writing that about me? I was like, no, I don't remember you being in the story at all. That was like my story. So sometimes people connect with it so much that they see themselves in the story. And I guess that's a good thing, but not when they think you're writing about them. So you have to like make sure that you are careful in the choices that you make.
What were some of the stories that you had written as well too? You don't have to go through a whole thing, but just a few of them, just get an idea.
So actually, Delilah versus the Ghastly Grim is the first children's book that I wrote, and then the other stories were really stuff that I kept to myself. I do plan on publishing the book about the psych nurse. I'm still in the process of writing that. I don't want anything released until I really feel like it's ready to be released. But Delilah versus the Ghastly Grim is actually doing quite well. It won several awards, and it hit several bestseller lists. It even hit #1 on the Amazon bestseller list for children's epilepsy health. But luckily, Boston Children's Hospital is willing to carry it on the epilepsy unit. So that was like a big win for me because, the whole purpose of writing the book was to have more inclusive books out there that kids could enjoy. Not just kids who have disabilities, but all kids, but let them feel empowered by the stories. Basically show them maybe a different perspective or a different world or see characters that they may have not seen in the past.
Mm-hmm. And you talk about Dravet syndrome being like the rarest. Is that considered the rarest of rarest, or what are some of the other rare seizures as well too?
It's considered a very rare seizure disorder. I'm not sure if it's the rarest of all, but it is very rare. There aren't that many kids who get that diagnosis. The way it's discovered is actually they have to do genetic testing to determine whether a child would be diagnosed with it. But some of the red flags would be that the children start having the seizures very early in life. Delilah, for example, had seizures within her first year of life. And so that's like the first big red flag. The second red flag is that the seizures are much longer or more frequent than other kind of epilepsies. For example, some of these kids have seizures every week, sometimes daily, sometimes multiple times a day, and they're very long seizures. Like they can be 30, 40 minutes, sometimes even an hour long. They can be very long seizures. And they come with a cascade of other issues. It can be behavioral issues. It can be physical. Some of these kids can't walk. Some of these kids are unable to speak correctly. Delilah, for example, is behind on articulation. We have managed to find the right medication to stave off her seizures, which we're very fortunate because some of these families that are dealing with this have not been able to find the right medication for their kids. But we have found the one for Delilah. It's called Fintepla. And so since we started her on that, we've been able to take her off the other meds like Keppra, which is a very popular seizure medication, and which I'm happy about because there are things that Keppra can do. And she was also on benzos, and benzos are quite strong. So I really was hesitant as the grandmother to, like feeling okay about being on benzos as a child, because that alone could create some developmental issues. So you have to basically, when you're going through something like this, you have to do what you feel would give your child or your grandchild the best chance at the most productive life. So there's a lot of pluses and minuses, and there's things you have to weigh. My daughter, of course, made the primary decisions, and then my husband and I moved to be near her and support her family and to help with Delilah. Like, I'm the one who usually takes Delilah to her therapies during the week because I work as a nurse. Nurses tend to work 12-hour shifts.
Mm-hmm.
That gives me the time to be able to take her to the therapies, whereas other families really struggle with that because they work 9-to-5 jobs or 8-to-5 jobs. How do you get your child to therapy? So it can be very complex situation for families dealing with these kind of disorders.
And how's the Dravet syndrome compared to the other syndromes? What makes it so unique?
Well, I mean, some of the other syndromes do have a lot of the symptoms that are similar to Dravet. Like I always say, like when I think about Dravet, it kind of works like a spectrum, like autism, whereas you have your high functioning kids and then you have your kids that require more care. Dravet does work like that. The seizures are more complex. They're harder to control. It's harder to find the right kind of concoction than, say, some of the other forms of epilepsy. That's where one difference lies. The seizures tend to be longer in nature. I think at one point, Delilah's was like 40 minutes long, which if you've ever seen a person have a seizure, 1 minute can feel like a lifetime. And then you have to, some of these kids don't make it. Some of these kids do not live past their 20s, so it can be very scary for a family when they receive the diagnosis. I won't lie, when my daughter first notified me that they were going to be doing genetic testing and that my grandchild had had a seizure, I immediately thought of Dravet and was praying that we would not get that diagnosis, because it's that it's going to be a life-changing diagnosis, not just for the child who is given that diagnosis, but also for the family members because of the requirements that go into caring for a special needs child. Mm-hmm. But I will say my grandchild is such a gift. Like, I feel like completely blessed. Every minute with her is like she's like a light in the room. So she is a total gift to us, and I feel very grateful every single day to have her in our lives.
Mm-hmm. And of course, one question before we get to Delilah versus the Ghastly Grim: how many families that you know of that currently their child has the Dravet syndrome? What's the number of having right now?
I would have to check on that. I know that when she was first diagnosed, we did some research on that, but I can't remember the exact number offhand. It is not a common diagnosis. It is something that is more rare than some of the other forms, but the exact number I couldn't give you.
Okay, and plus the fact that Delilah, being taking on the Ghastly Grim as well, too, shining a light on that. We'll talk more about with writer, registered nurse, certified teacher, T.L. McCoy, and the book Delilah versus the Ghastly Grim. But first, you listen to The Mike Wagner Show at themikewagnershow.com, powered by SoundCloud Studios. Visit online at soundcloudstudios.com for all your needs. Looking at a professional website without breaking your budget, SoundCloud Studios is the answer. SoundCloud Studios offers fast, affordable custom web designs at below the competition way. Call today, 1-800-303-3960. It's 1-800-303-3960, or email to support@soundcloudstudios.com. Mention the Mike Wagner Show, get 20% off your first project. Sonic Web Studios, take your image to the next level. Also, time to give an official shout out to our official sponsor of the Mike Wagner Show, international warring author Mia Molson-Zia. If you love fast-paced mysteries, you love Missing by Mia Molson-Zia, available on Amazon, paperback, and ebook. Missing is fast-paced and intriguing with an undefeatable twist. Takes place in 4 countries, 2 strangers, 1 target, where truth is illusion and those who love you to first go missing. It's available on Amazon and paperback and ebook. Missing by Mia Molson Zia's garnered great reviews. An Evil Evidence George by Howard Celebrities, including Joanna Cassie, Forrest Riley, and many others. So grab your copy today for it goes Missing by Mia Molson Zia, available on Amazon. Coming soon, Missing 2, Double Expense, Double Fun. Check it out on Amazon. Also brought to you by a sweet psalmist, Special Raina Wagner, based on the life of David, including 30 exquisite paintings and King David Psalms. The sweet psalmist gives new perspective of David through the Psalms he wrote and as time as shepherd started and complicate your turbulent relationship with King Saul. It's a story of love, betrayal, repentance, hope, and more. Check out the Sweet Psalmist by Serena Wagner on Amazon. Keyword Sweet Psalmist Serena Wagner. Also, check out the Mike Wagner Show at the MikeWagnerShow.com, 50 podcast platforms, 110 countries. Follow us on Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, Twitter, TikTok, also SoundCloud, Spreaker, Spotify, iHeartRadio, Apple Music, BitChute, Rumble, YouTube, and more. Tickets with you on any mobile device. And for great gift ideas, go to Amazon.com. Check out the Mike Wagner Show podcast. T-shirts, pop sockets, throw pillows, tote bags, hoodies, makes great gifts 24/7. Go to Amazon.com. Check out the Mike Wagner Show podcast. And for more great gift ideas, go to Amazon.com/Mia Molson Zia for great books like Missing, Once, and Wrinkles, and support the Mike Wagner Show on Anchor FM, PayPal, and the MikeWagnerShow.com. We're here with the multi-talented writer, registered nurse, certified teacher, former school director, founder of Blue Round Book Group, T.L. McCoy and the Mike Wagner Show at Delilah versus the Ghastly Grim. And before getting all that, you've been a registered nurse for quite some time. How'd you first get into that?
Oh, well, it's actually kind of interesting. I've changed careers a lot in my life. I haven't been one of those people who kind of said, I want to be this, and that's the only thing I want to be. And then I've stuck with it my whole life. It really didn't work that way. I was in the military at one time. I served in the Air Force. That's where I met my husband. And we had to move from place to place to place pretty much every 3 years. And I said every single time it would be like we moved and I had to reinvent myself. So I've had, because it was like whatever I was at that time, that was not what they were hiring right there. So I basically had to reinvent myself every time we moved. So at one time I was actually a professor. I worked at Park University. I taught criminal justice. And then,
Oh, wow. Okay.
I had a graduate degree. I have a graduate degree in criminal justice. And then, and I really loved doing that. I was also a student advisor. I loved doing that. But then we moved to be closer to family. And I would say that there wasn't a lot of opportunities for me to do that kind of work. So I was trying to search for something that would be more suitable. And I was fortunate enough to come across nursing. I think when I was younger, I wanted to be a nurse. And I actually had a counselor who talked me out of being a nurse because in high school, I wasn't the greatest student. I was like, I played around in high school. And then
my gosh.
I got serious in college, but in high school, I wasn't that good. So one counselor's like, I don't think nursing's for you. You're not that good at math. Turns out I'm actually really good at math. I just was playing around too much in high school. So then when I started taking it seriously, I decided, you know what, I'll go ahead and give nursing a try, see if I can handle the math. The math was no problem whatsoever. It's actually pretty simple math for nursing. And so then I got a nursing degree and I haven't been a nurse that long. I've been a nurse for, I want to say, going on like 4 years now.
Wow. Okay.
And I've been working as a psych nurse in Orlando. So it is definitely a challenging job. It's very interesting. You meet all kinds of different people. The field of mental health will make you see things from very different perspectives. So it's good for someone like me who also writes, because you get to see the world through different eyes.
No, that's interesting. You talk about being a writer, looking through different eyes and everything like that. You're also founder of the Blue Round Book Group as well. Tell us about that.
Yeah, so I actually founded Blue Round Book Group to publish Delilah versus the Ghastly Grim. I think there are pluses and minuses to whether you want to go through the traditional route or if you want to publish yourself. The traditional route has the advantages of they have departments that kind of do the marketing for you. They can take care of the illustrations for you and all the steps in the process. But it does take longer and you lose some of the control. I wanted I wanted the control to remain mine. And then I wanted to make the decisions with regard to how the book was going to go. I think what I did not expect was the extent of requirements for the marketing. And that is the learning curve that I'm kind of in right now. The book was just released at the end of May, so it has not been out that long. And like I said, it's doing pretty well with some awards and then hitting the bestsellers list. But I'm still learning on the marketing front, and that's where Blue Round Book Group is kind of right now. It's brand new, hasn't been around that long. Right now, we just have the one book, Delilah versus the Ghastly Grim. But my goal is to bring on other authors and hopefully have a focus on books that offer better representation and more inclusion. Not necessarily every book has to be that, but I do want that to be the focus of Blue Round Book Group.
And you talk about bringing some authors on board as well. Who are some of your favorite authors and writers growing up, especially books?
Oh, well, I loved Anne Rice when I was probably in college. Probably that was in high school. Like I said, I wasn't a very good student, so reading wasn't really my thing in high school. But I remember I loved The Crucible in high school. I think that was the first book where I found out that I actually loved to read. And then wow. I thought it was just the most amazing story, and it was so well written with really interesting characters. And then Anne Rice, I really took to Anne Rice. I think I've read just so many of her books. But my all-time favorite book, it will probably always be my favorite book, is Catcher in the Rye.
Oh, yes, J.D. Salinger.
Love Catcher in the Rye. And, I think I named one of my stories Roller Skate Skinny after Catcher in the Rye because it was a line from that book. So I had always loved that story. And every once in a while, I'll even say, like, he doesn't even know she keeps the kings in the back row, because I just thought he was such a funny character. He was so well written. I think that there's a lot that's very subtly indicated in the book, and his talent was just unbelievable. If I could write like him, I would be extremely happy. And then also, I really enjoyed Lolita, because I feel like anyone who can take a man like him and actually make you feel bad for him, that's a talented writer. That is a writer that has true talent, because that is extremely difficult to do. So I feel like his talent was something that I aspire to.
And certainly did as well too. And you aspire in the book, Delilah versus the Ghastly Grim. We get to that with T.L. McCoy. You listen to the Mike Wagner Show at the MikeWagnerShow.com, powered by Soundclap Studios, brought to you by official sponsor of the Mike Wagner Show, international warring author Mia Mosenzia Missing, The Sweet Psalmist by Serena Wagner, based on the life of Dave, including 30 exquisite paintings and King David Psalms. Amazon.com, keyword Sweet Psalmist Serena Wagner. We're back to the multi-talented T.L. McCoy of Delilah versus the Ghastly Grim after this timeout. We're back with author T.L. McCoy and the Mike Wagner Show at Delilah versus the Ghastly Grim. We talked about her being a grandmother of a child diagnosed with Dravet syndrome, and also having like only 3.4 of children's books featuring a disabled protagonist, and Delilah herself as well. And it's basically following a child which, after near-fatal seizure, stepped into a world of indigo door, fantasy, the magic door, and slayings and everything else. But, things come out in the end as well. That's pretty much the bottom line to it.
So when it comes to Delilah versus the Ghastly Grim, yes, the indigo door opens. She's kind of catapulted into this fantasy world. What I did with it is Delilah is actually in two places at once in the book.
Oh, okay.
Yep. So she is her physical body is on Earth, and because of the seizures, the doctor decides that he needs to put her into a medically induced coma in order to basically save her life, which can happen if your seizure is severe enough. That kind of traps her in the fantasy world because it closes the door, and like it causes the door to disappear. So now she's stuck in this fantasy world, and she has to face monsters. She faces some struggles, difficult situations. She goes on a quest. But in this whole process, she kind of learns about herself, and she finds that she has powers that she didn't realize she has. Those powers are rooted in her disability.
Oh, wow. What are some of the powers that she has as well? We'd like to hear about it.
Well, so since her disorder is electrochemical, seizure disorder, her powers are rooted in that disability. So she has like electrical powers, like almost like a electrical plasma kind of thing. And so she was kind of prophesied about. They call her the traveler from the stories of old, that was supposed to come and save their world. But she doesn't believe that she's that. She doesn't believe she's capable of that. And it isn't until she truly believes in herself that she kind of reaches her potential. And then at the heart of the entire story, it is a Christian story. So there is the underlying theme of forgiveness. And I don't want to give the ending away. I think the ending is kind of a surprise to a lot of people. And
doesn't every ending have a surprise?
It should be.
Well, you should have to ask Delilah. You have to ask Delilah on that one. Which Delilah should answer that? So
it won't be the 4-year-old. She has not read the story. She's not ready for the story. There are some darker elements in the story. It can be a little bit like Goosebumps that way. There are monsters in the story. So it's really meant for middle grade kids. But what is surprising is I'm actually getting a lot of adults who are saying that they're reading and loving the story. In fact, a lot of the messages I'm receiving are like young adults, or even people in their 30s are saying that they've been reading the story, or they've been reading the story with their children, and they found that they are enjoying the story just as much as their children are. So some of that has surprised me a little bit, because I expected it to be more of the middle grade kids that were coming back with the feedback, but some of the adults are saying that they are connecting with the characters as well. Probably because everybody at some point in their lives, they've felt separated or isolated or different from others. And that is a strong theme in the book.
And talk about some of the quests that you go through as well. Maybe a couple of quests that she goes on and manages to conquer.
So she does have to go on a quest. So basically what happens when she arrives in Other Sphere is she has to face the Kangaroo Council, and she is in trouble because she's there without the necessary things to be in that world. So in order to get out of trouble, she agrees to go on this quest to find the Book of Truth, which is supposedly will have the answer on how to defeat the Ghastly Grim. So she and her companions, she makes some friends, go on this quest, and it's a dangerous quest. They have to travel the Serpentine River. They face a sorcerer. There's a dragon that they have to, they come across. So there are some things that they experience along the way. I don't want to give too much away about the book, because I'm hoping that people will read it, but she definitely faces some very challenging and interesting moments. And as she's going through it, she learns a lot about herself, and she grows as an individual.
And how does her fantasy adventure mirror the real world challenges that children face today?
I think that a lot of kids, and even some of the ones who have read it and given me feedback on it, at some point or another, they don't necessarily feel like they're connecting well with others, or they might feel isolated or alone, or they need to feel empowered. And I think that's where the story's strength is. It is all about empowering children and saying it's okay to feel different. It's okay to be different. Sometimes it is your difference. It is those differences that are your strength. The story is about taking what others view as a weakness and turning around and showing it as your greatest strength. In fact, I am a firm believer that it is sometimes what makes us different, that those are the things that make us great. Like when you meet somebody, you think about somebody like Michael J. Fox, who's going through his ordeal with his disorder.
Oh my gosh, that was sad. And there was a story I read, because he got that Asperger syndrome. He had to drink all that Diet Pepsi for what was it, from Back to the Future? That was a requirement. That was saying that was the source of his current condition. I thought, boy, that's sad.
It's so amazing. But if you look at it, really look at how much good he has done by taking that disorder, his Parkinson's, and bringing attention and awareness to it, the funds that have been raised, the knowledge that has been gained. And I don't know that that would have necessarily happened or happened as quickly as it did, but for his actions. So he is taking something that maybe some would mark as a weakness, but he has turned it into a strength by bringing awareness to it and knowledge and all the stuff that the world has gained through his actions. That's one of the most beautiful stories that's ever happened, even greater than his movies.
And I think it's certainly amazing talent as well too. And there's some other inspirational stories as well, like with epilepsy, seizures, and everything. Also, more of the book about Delilah versus Ghastly Grim, the Mike Wagner show. You gave her ship in the book the name the Nord, and found out it was an interesting connection. Tell us more about that.
Yeah, so it was actually, it's kind of interesting because I say that this is really, it's become a mission for me because I was a director of a school for children with disabilities for a time. And at that time, Delilah was not diagnosed. She hadn't even been born yet. And I learned a lot from the school. It was a Christian school, and they taught me a lot about kids with disabilities and kind of ways that we can help empower them and how we can help them meet their maximum potential. And then I left that job, and my grandchild was born, and she ended up getting diagnosed with Dravet syndrome. And it was very interesting because I felt like how strange that I had never wanted to be a director of a school for kids with disabilities. I kind of just fell into the job and learned so much. And then I had a grandchild with a disability, and I thought that was pretty interesting. And I did not expect that, because we didn't have any disorders really in our family. So we didn't really have a lookout for anything. And so then that was like a first flag of like, maybe this is where I'm supposed to be in life, helping kids with disabilities. But then I came across that study, and I was writing the book, and I had finished writing the entire book. It went through like 30 edits. It went through 2 professional edits, including by an award-winning writer and former literary agent, and then also by the editor of The Hunger Games. She edited Delilah versus the Ghastly Grim. And so it went through all my edits. It went through the professional edits. It had the illustration done by a professional illustrator, and I had already had it all written. And while I was writing the book, I had this dream about a boat, and on the boat, on the back of the boat, it said the Nord. So when I wrote the book, I included that in the book. I wrote the book that Delilah takes on her journey and called it the Nord. And it wasn't until the book was completely done, completely edited, ready to be released, that I came across a site, the Nord site, and it's an organization that actually helps people with disabilities.
Oh
And
wow,
I said,
amazing. Oh my
never
gosh.
heard of it in my life, never heard of it in my entire life. And I said, all right, God, I got the message. Like, that's all right. First, the job fell in my lap. Then my grandchild's diagnosed with it. I'm having dreams about things that I put in the book, and now it's clearly related to disabilities. Okay. So clearly, this is the mission that I was supposed to be on. It's almost like it's not even a nudge, it's a push that I'm supposed to be doing this.
And that you're doing is fantastic. And what else you want the readers to get from the book?
Well, I mean, the whole entire book and the whole reason behind the book is to create more books out there for kids with disabilities so that they can connect with the things that they read, so that they feel like they can see themselves as the characters and not actually feel like they can't be like the characters. Some of the problems with the inclusive books that are out there is some of them will try to cure whatever the child has. And I think that just makes them feel like they have to be cured in order to be good enough. And I don't think that's the way we should go. Or they're so overly educational that they lose the audience members. And so I don't think that's good enough either. So my hope with Delilah versus the Ghastly Grim is that this book and others will present children with disabilities in a way that all kids will want to read it, and that they'll enjoy the stories, and they'll feel empowered by the stories, and they'll learn a little something in the process. And then hopefully it'll encourage the industry to create more and start closing that gap and produce more books that will be inclusive.
And we hope so as well, too. Where can we find all your books at, TL?
So right now they're on Amazon. I also have them on Ingram Spark. I'm hoping to get out the audiobook soon. We are working on that. But Amazon is the primary source, and then Ingram Spark as well.
All right, we'll certainly check that out. Here, author T.L. McCoy of Delilah versus the Ghastly Grim here on the Mike Wagner Show. Tammy, just a few more things. What else can we expect in 2025 and beyond?
So right now, we are still in the launch phase of Delilah versus the Ghastly Grim. It's still, fairly newly released. So we're still doing our marketing campaign, but I'm in the process of writing. So hopefully I'll have some more stories out there for you. Most likely I'll have an adult book out before I'll have the second Delilah versus the Ghastly Grim out. But that is a goal, not 2025. It'll take longer than that, but that'll be a goal. And then hopefully I'll be able to connect with other writers. I do have some that I have been chatting with, and hopefully we'll get some more works out from them under Blue Round Book Group.
We're certainly looking forward as well, Tammy. And who do you consider biggest influence in the career?
The biggest influence in my career, I mean, that's a really good question because I feel like it depends on the timing of my life. It depends on what I was doing at any given point and where I was as a person. Right now, I really like what Gillian Flynn has done. She is, a pretty famous writer, did Gone Girl, and yet she started an imprint because she recognized that the industry has changed and that more voices needed to be heard. So she has her imprint. So I will say she's a positive influence. I would like to kind of follow in those kind of footsteps.
We certainly will, and looking forward to it. What's the best advice you can give to anybody at this point?
I would say that everybody has a good story in them. And if this is something that you've always wanted to try, don't let naysayers tell you not to do it. There are lots of opportunities and different ways to get it done. You can go the traditional route and try and get an agent and go through the big five publishing houses, and that's a wonderful way to go. Or you could even do it yourself and publish your book yourself through print on demand through Amazon if you want others to read it. Or sometimes you just want to write for yourself, and I encourage you to do that because I feel like a lot of people reach the end of their lives and they've been influenced to just do what others have told them to do rather than the things that they've wanted to do in life. And then you have regret. Don't have regret at the end of your life. Do what makes you happy and try and reach those goals, because you don't want to be at the end and feel like you missed out.
And I think that's a really good advice as well. We're author T.L. McCoy of Delilah versus Ghastly Grim here on the Mike Wagner Show. Tammy, a very big thank you for your time. You've been absolutely amazing. Learned a lot. Looking forward to having you soon. Keep us up to date. Keep in touch. Love to have you back. What's your website? How do people contact you? Where can people purchase or check out your book?
Thank you so much. They can actually see a lot on my website, www.blueroundbookgroup.com. All the information that you need is there, to social media, how to get the book Amazon, and so forth.
We'll certainly check that out. Once again, Tammy, a very big thank you for your time. You've been absolutely fantastic. Looking forward to having you soon. Keep us up to date. Keep in touch. Love having you back. We wish you all the best. And Tammy, you definitely have a great future ahead of you.
Thank you so much, Mike. I appreciate being on your show.